Hi, I'm Lori from Carnivore Cheer, and welcome to my channel. Thanks for stopping by. Like many of you, I am here because I have traveled a long and perilous journey to a better way of eating. That journey involved um, a lot of carbs and sugar and seed oils on the way that grabbed my attention, plunged their poison daggers into me, hijacked my health, and almost took my life. And I knew that there had to be a better way. So I started a journey to a better way of eating. And I think that I'm on the right direction now. And like many of you, um, I have encountered a lot of challenges along the way. And I have encountered many difficulties and setbacks, but I have heard so many stories from all of you about your journeys and your challenges and your obstacles and your victories. And I want to thank each and every one of you who has shared your stories, because without those stories, I wouldn't be here talking with you today. And also, like many of you, I have also come to this place from a point, many points actually, of great pain. And I have heard through many of your stories all of the tragedies and obstacles that so many of you have gone through, devastating family losses, financial setbacks, abuse, all kinds of emotional and physical and dietary challenges that threatened your health, both physical and mental. And yet, despite everything that I've heard, some obstacles that have just seemed insurmountable, you have thrived. And that is something that each and every one of you can also be proud of. So I cast my lot with you, with my own story, in hopes that I will honor what you have done, what you have achieved, what you have triumphed over. So let me tell you a little bit about myself and about my channel, why I named it as I did, and what I hope to share as we travel together. So first of all, what is what is my channel name all about? Carnivore Cheer. First, carnivore. Carnivore for me, like for many of you, was a transition. I didn't do this overnight. I had to spend many, many years feeling out the ground in a way where I could put sugar, carbs, and seed oils behind me. And that took a while. It took a lot of two steps forward, steps back type of things. And so I think I am finally at the place where I went through keto and ketovore, and now I really do consider myself carnivore. But having said that, I know that carnivore is part of actually a wide spectrum that typically starts with lower carbohydrates, then goes through keto, and then ketovore, or whatever you want to call it, and then on to carnivore. Within carnivore itself, of course, there are many, many um, variations, but it's a big tent. And so wherever you are on that journey, even if you haven't started the journey yet and you're just kind of curious, you are welcome here in this channel. And this is a safe place. It's a place where we're going to explore together, have some fun together, reflect on things, where sometimes I will laugh with you and cry with you. And I hope that whatever I do here can enhance everyone's journey and encourage us all to be courageous and continue to share and grow. So, what's this cheer thing? First of all, I need to tell you, I was never a cheerleader in high school, not even close. But I wanted to find a word that conveyed some positive sense, some, to emphasize what is good and joyful and liberating about this dietary journey. And so I went through a number of things. I thought carnivore Lori, well, that's kind of boring. There's lots of women named Lori in the world. Carnivore happy, nah, not quite. Carnivore joy, nah, didn't quite work. Um, Carnivore feeling off the ground, nah, that was too much word salad. And then I thought of a theme that I heard running through so many of your stories, and it was a theme about how we cheer each other on, how we encourage each other. And I thought, there's my word, because I want to cheer you on just as there will be times during our journey that I will need cheering on myself. So there you have it, Carnivore Cheer. So a little bit about me. I'm Midwestern born and raised, even though there's a Golden Gate behind me right here. Um, I lived in the Midwest for a while. My father's job took us around several states in the Midwest, and we moved to upstate New York when my father died when I was 16 years old. Um, and then my mother died 2 years after that. I went to both college and grad school in upstate New York. And then a job brought me out here to the San Francisco Bay Area, where I have been living since then with my two cats. So, what is my story essentially? Like many of you, I kind of knew what my eating patterns were going way, way back. And one thing I knew for sure, ever since I was a tot, was that I loved meat. No question about that. My mother was an excellent cook. She used to cook roasts, chicken, turkey, duck, all kinds of really, really good meat-centered meals. And I loved meat, always. The other eating pattern that came along was that I loved carbohydrates. I loved potatoes. I loved bread. I loved having toast for breakfast in the morning and all of those things. Unfortunately, a third eating pattern emerged, and that was a penchant for sweets. I loved cake and cookies and brownies and pie. And my mother was an excellent cook at all of those things. She made the best brownies I ever ate, the best lemon meringue pie, the best apple pie, and I loved it all. Despite that, I was a very thin child. I didn't have an ounce of fat on me. And I was very energetic. In fact, I could run faster, I could kick harder, I could throw farther than most of the girls in my neighborhoods where I lived. And I loved riding my two-wheel bike, and I could ride it very, very fast. In fact, I used to ride more with the boys in the neighborhood than with the girls because the girls couldn't ride fast enough for me. And so I had a lot of energy, and that was really great, despite the fact that I was eating a lot of carbs, a lot of ice cream, a lot of cake, and that wasn't good for me, but it wasn't having an impact on my body until I hit adolescence. And then it started to catch up with me. And then I started to put on weight. By the time I was 15, I was putting on weight, and I had a protruding abdomen, which horrified me. I had never had that as a child. And I didn't have as much energy anymore. And unfortunately, I started this pattern of putting on weight, taking it off, in a pattern that is very familiar to that beloved child's toy, the yo-yo. And so I started yo-yo dieting when I was about 15. First, it was 10 pounds on, 10 pounds off. Then it was 15 pounds on, 15 pounds off. Each throw of the yo-yo added more pounds. And this continued for the next 3.5 to 4 decades. By the time I was in my 30s, it was 20 pounds on, 20 pounds off, 30 pounds on, 30 pounds off, until I had gained 50 pounds. I wasn't healthy anymore. When I was much younger, I was still thin, but I was what maybe you would call toffee, thin on the outside, fat on the inside. Because as I went through, the yo-yo throw kept going, I was getting unhealthier by the year by year. And then by the time I was in my late 30s, I had gained all that weight. I wasn't toffee anymore. I was fofy, fat on the outside and fat on the inside. So I wasn't thin anymore, but at least I was consistent. But the first warning shot was fired for my health. My blood pressure shot up. My blood sugar started to creep up. I didn't have the energy anymore. I was starting to feel stiff. And I knew that something in my body was just starting to go bad, but I didn't do anything about it as far as the food I was consuming because unfortunately I discovered that food talked for me. When I was stressed and miserable because my parents had died when I was very young, I had lost a brother to suicide, and I didn't know how to process all of that emotionally. But food knew how to do that for me. So it spoke for me. So it was comforting to me. And this continued year after year after year. And of course, I didn't see the destruction that was going on in my body. So I just continued to eat the stress away. And my digestive system was being torn to shreds. And I was starting to not feel well. I was starting to feel very sick in the morning. Um, Sometimes I would skip meals, and then sometimes I would just overeat, and very, very unbalanced and just not good at all. And the day of reckoning finally did come. My digestive system was being just shredded. And finally, it got to the point where my colon was just in such dire shape that it could not be saved. I had inflammatory bowel conditions very, very badly. I wasn't feeling well. I was always getting stomach aches. And finally, 4 years ago, the time came when my colon could no longer be saved. And I had it completely removed. I had a proctocolectomy. And that was, in some ways, it was devastating, but in some ways, it did solve some problems for me because I had a chance to recover some of my health, but it also put a challenge in front of me. Where do I go with my eating now? I knew I had to do something about these carbs. I just didn't know what. And I started hearing about keto, people eating keto. And that was, from what I could understand, a low, much lower carb type of eating, where people, did not eat as, at least not nearly as many carbohydrates as they did. And I thought, well, I can't do that. I miss carbohydrate America. How can I not eat bread? How can I not eat toast? How can I not eat potatoes? And I would hear people say things like, oh, I had a chicken pot pie, but I didn't eat the crust. And I thought, but the crust is the best part. I can't eat a chicken pot pie without a crust. But I had to do something because carbohydrates are really a form of sugar once they are digested in your body. And I think I knew that, but I didn't really want to face that. And I thought, well, maybe if I just don't eat sugar, I could still have my toast and my bread and everything else. Not quite true. Um, and I knew that I had to start somewhere. And I found a video on my YouTube feed from Dr. Robert Lustig, Lustig. Dr. Lustig talked about the very, very harmful impact of sugar on the young people that he was treating, the adolescents that he was treating, many of whom already had type 2 diabetes at age 8, 9, 10, young children. And that was tragic to me. And he explained that carbohydrates really become sugar in your body. So even if you eat a piece of toast, you're not fooling yourself. It's sugar because there's a enzyme in your saliva that when you eat a piece of bread, for example, once it makes its way down to your esophagus, it's sugar. And it does the same damage that sugar does. It contributes to high levels of, sugar in your body and insulin, just as eating sugar would. And I kind of got religion about sugar in that way. So, but it took a while. I was able to stop the cookies, the real blatant junk food type of sugar, but I still liked an occasional piece of cake or pie. And I had to just kind of take it one step at a time. But I was grateful to Dr. Lustig for helping me to see very clearly the very, very damaging impact of sugar. And then not too long after that, another feed popped up on my YouTube from Dr. Berry. This was the game changer for me because he talked about what he called the proper human diet. And he talked about a meat centric diet and not just white meat, not just chicken and turkey, but red meat, beef, steak. These were things that I loved since I was a child. But in recent years, with the prejudice against red meat, all of the bad publicity about red meat, oh, it causes cancer, it tears up your digestive system, it's not good for the environment, the way that all these cattle and how they put all this methane into the atmosphere and things like that. Um, I was trying not to eat red meat, but here was Dr. Berry saying that red meat was healthy. It had tons of nutrients. It was a pure, unprocessed type of food. And I was stunned. I was thunderstruck as I was listening to this. It was as if a ball and chain had been cut from my ankle, because it was so liberating to hear that the type of food I really and truly loved, was good for me. And I was so grateful. I watched that video a number of times. And that I consider my first get out of unhealthy jail card. So I don't know if Dr. Berry will ever see this video, but if he does, my gratitude is profound. And it was so liberating not to have to pretend anymore. I didn't feel that I had to force myself to love salad, which I didn't like, and to like vegetables. I mean, I did like some, like broccoli and green beans were okay, but I could take them or leave them. But I didn't have to force myself to say, no, eat your greens, eat your green vegetables. That's better than meat, because they were not better than meat. And I will still occasionally eat broccoli, but not very often. So it was just so liberating not to have to pretend anymore. And that was the road back for me, the road to health. And it enabled meat to take the center stage in my diet and to leave carbs behind, because I rediscovered how good meat was, especially from ruminant animals. Beef, steak, ribeye, all kinds of different steaks that I had loved all these years and just denied myself. And they were good for me, it turned out. And, I learned about ruminant animals, and that the meat you eat from ruminant animals, because they have, multi-tiered digestive system in their stomachs. And that just enables them to consume their food in a way that they can produce food that is healthy for us. So that was just, so beneficial for me. And I am extremely grateful for that. So I am a meat eater now. Carbs and sugar and seed oils are in my past. And believe me, I am so grateful for that. And I know that I still make mistakes. For example, I went through a period of drinking a bunch of diet soda, and diet soda is not good for you. It has tons of chemicals in it. And I actually, for the 2-3 months that I was drinking all this diet soda, I actually gained weight. And so that was just not good. So I don't drink the diet soda anymore, but that was a course correction I had to make. And I'm still learning. We are all a work in progress, myself included. And I have seen videos and channels from many, many doctors to whom I am very grateful. Dr. Berry is at the top of that list, but also I want to mention a few more. And many of you have already heard of these doctors and have benefited from them, as I have. Dr. Anthony Chaffee, who is pretty much a lion diet type of person. He eats pretty much meat and salt, and that's it. but he has an excellent history of, you know, why we are essentially carnivores. And his videos are most educational. So I'm very grateful to Dr. Chafee. Dr. Sean Baker is in the same category. Dr. Baker has written a book called Carnivore Diet, and he is a former orthopedic surgeon, and now he is devoting most of his time to helping educate people about the benefits of a proper human diet that is meat-centered. So I am grateful to Dr. Baker. Dr. Tony Hampton, who is based out of Chicago. Now, Dr. Hampton works with a lot of men and women with diabetes. And what I appreciate so much about Dr. Hampton is that he seems to have a very compassionate style of dealing with his patients, of providing hope for them, for their diabetes, improving it through diet and depending less on medicine. And he's done many, many podcasts, and I really enjoy watching them. I really admire Dr. Hampton, and I appreciate everything he has taught me. Dr. Robert Kiltz, Kiltz. Dr. Kiltz is, his specialty is um, uh, obstetrics and gynecology. He helps women have healthy babies. And he is also a committed carnivore. And he has a wonderful faith in humanity. He is so upbeat and positive, and he knows how to make his way around ribeye too. And he has meetups pretty much daily. And he's really wonderful to listen to and a lot of fun. And so I'm grateful for everything that he has taught me. And let me see who else. I think, oh, yes, we have we have friends in Australia. Dr. Paul Mason, who is received his medical degree from the University of Sydney. Now, Dr. Mason um, has a great deal of knowledge about things like cholesterol and, the role of statins, the good and the bad. And he really knows how to make his way through a research paper. And he is very, very knowledgeable, a wonderful presenter, just very, very helpful and supportive of the carnivore community. And I really enjoy listening to Dr. Mason. He is always gives a great video. So I thank Dr. Mason. And Dr. Gary Fettke. Now, Dr. Fettke is a former orthopedic surgeon who also really wanted to help patients with diabetes to work with diet to help them improve their lives and help them improve their condition. And Dr. Fettke paid a big price for taking that stand. He was dragged through the courts. Fortunately, he was vindicated, but he's a great friend to the carnivore community. And so I'm grateful to him and his wife, Belinda, who has done incredible amounts of research. So also in Australia, there's a website called, or actually a channel called Low Carb Down Under. And lots of people make presentations at this, special type of event. And it's very interesting. They get lots and lots of good speakers. And our friends in Australia have a lot of the challenges that we do. We get, a lot of misinformation. We have what we call the standard American diet. They have the standard Australian diet. So they understand what we're going through just as we understand what they're going through. So I'm grateful to all of them. So before I wrap it up here, what I want to tell you is in my next video, I'm going to talk about a little bit about the carnivore community and why it is indeed a community. Because I've heard so many wonderful things from so many different channels, and I am grateful to every single one of you. And I'm going to talk more about that in my next video. But for now, I just simply must tell you about 3 channels, or actually 4 channels, that are just, they are must views for you. And number 1 is Homestead How. And you probably have already heard and visited this channel. Carrie Mann. I don't know what to say. I'm a writer by profession, and I'm at a loss for words. How do I describe this guy? Um, Phenomenal? Maybe that's a good place to start. Carrie is so energetic and so committed to helping people be happier and healthier. He is working with a team on a documentary that was just given the title Healing Humanity, the Blessings of a Proper Human Diet. And I can't think of a more wonderful thing to do in your life. And my hat is off to Carrie for the effort in doing this. And he's got a lot of support for this, which I am very grateful for. And you can go to carnivoredietmovie.com to find out more. And I highly recommend that you do that. It's most interesting. So Homestead How. Video number 2, Bill Nott, Nott. Bill is someone who had reached a very dark and despairing place in his dietary journey. And he began working the carnivore way with help from Carrie. In fact, Carrie and his daughter flew to Alaska to visit with Bill and encourage him to keep going on his carnivore journey. And that was really wonderful. And Bill is a wonderful storyteller. He is so candid and so positive and so committed. And I am really looking forward to seeing great things for Bill's health upcoming. I can't wait to see what the future holds for Bill, because I think it's going to hold some really great things. And if you love cats, Bill has a fantastic marmalade and white cat named Daisy, and you will love watching Daisy on camera. I promise you. Bill Nott, check it out. Carnivore Quest. This is Larry and Cassie, a married couple for more than 20 years, and they were one of the first people to go up on YouTube with a carnivore related channel. It is well worth checking out. They are wonderful. They're funny. They're candid. They're informative. Cassie is a fantastic cook. And they have met some incredible obstacles in their life. And they have been very candid about sharing that. They have laughed and cried and been very, very sincere and very compassionate. It's a wonderful channel. It really is. Check it out. Carnivore Quest. And my fourth and last one I'm going to mention today is No Carb Life, Dave Mack. Dave's channel is a work unto itself. He is informative. He's got a fantastic sense of humor. He researches so well, and he has done many, many, many interviews of people about their dietary journeys. He's interviewed men, women, the older, the younger, people from all walks of life, all over the world, literally. And I am honored to be one of Dave's interviewees, and that's coming up. And I really recommend that you check out Dave's channel. I think you'll find it well worth your time. So those are the 4 I want to start with. But believe me, I've got a lot more to share. And I want to thank you so much for being with me today. And if you like what you heard today, I hope you will click the like button. And if you want to travel along, which I hope you will, I hope you'll click subscribe as well. I'd love to have you a subscriber. So that will be it for today. Thank you once again for joining me today. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to sharing my journey with you in future videos. That's all for now. Thanks a lot, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.